Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show, brought to you by Choice Sports Cards, your number one choice in buying and selling sports cards. Check out Kyle and the boys over on Whatnot. Tonight, we got a great show for you. We're going live right in the middle of a Dynasty startup. It's the Birdhouse Dynasty Show, Bestball Dynasty League number 2. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Let's get right to it for you guys. So, we are right in the middle of it, smack dab in the middle of round 15. Let's get there. Yes, here we go. And anybody in the middle of this draft with me, go ahead and hop on. We are Let's see, and I'm on the clock. All right. Well, let's check this board out. Like I said, it's not quite to round 15. We're middle of round 14, actually. I can give you a nice rundown here. Take a look at my screen. Here is my roster as we speak right now. So, yes, here's my roster. Okay, so this is a 30-man roster. Start 12, best ball league. We start quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wideouts, tight end, 4 flexes, 4 regular flexes, and a super flex. So we got the 4 flexes, 3 wideouts, 2 running backs, and the super flex. So we're in round 14. We got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 guys. Got a pick here at the 1408, and then another pick, my own, coming up at the 1410. I also have acquired future, let's see, a 25, an extra 25 first, an extra 26 first, and a few seconds as well as we've been moving along in this draft. So, who am I looking at here? I got my fancy little notes here, and I know who I was looking at prior to getting up here, and he did not get taken yet. So let me get right on to it. I am going to grab Garner Minshew, the last starter left starting quarterback left, and no problem grabbing him. So King Wheezy is on the clock. Let's give him a little note, a little message here saying, making sure he knows he is up. And, so let's see here. King Wheezy on the clock. There we go. Shoot him a text too. So, how's everybody out there doing tonight? Anybody out there in some startups of their own? Let me know how they're going, or you got any? Maybe you got some startups coming up, and you've got questions. I'm going to run down the draft to this point for you all. All right. So, if we go back up, like I said, we are in round 14. If we scroll back up the board here and go back to round 1, you can see the board, how it looks here. And let's shorten that up, focus it in a little for you guys. Okay, so we have, let's see here. Started off with 6 straight quarterbacks, as expected. We had Mahomes, Allen, 1-2, no surprise there. Then Stroud, Lamar, maybe a little surprise going ahead of Jalen, but not really. Then Anthony Richardson. And let's see here. Um, oh, somebody had sent me an offer and I didn't even look. Oh, oh well. That's all right. I kind of wanted to make that pick anyway. This draft, let me tell you, has had so many trades. It's making me it's making me dizzy. So uh, I don't know what the trade offer was now because I made the pick. So anyway, it doesn't matter. So after that, we we had Ceedee and then Justin Jefferson, and then Bijan went in the first round at the 109. So Burrow slid down to me at the 110, and Chase had not been taken yet. So I took my 202 and moved up 4 spots. I went back in round 6, 8, and 10. I went back 4 spots in those rounds, giving Richard Brand those picks just to move up 4 spots from the 202 to the 111 so I could get that elite stack of Burrow and Chase. Now I've got I've got King Wheezy getting all pissy with me because I took Garner Minshew. Send me a trade offer for Minshew if you want him. Uh, I guess he wanted Minshew. Well, that's the great thing about Dynasty is you can always make a trade, buddy. But Minshew was the last viable starter at quarterback. I fully expect Garner Minshew to be the starter for the Raiders this season. They didn't go out and give him 2 years at 12 million each season to come in and sit behind Aiden O'Connell. That's just my opinion, but usually you follow the money in the NFL. If they were going to really have a training camp battle, Minshew would be making less than 7 or 8 million. But based off of what Minshew did last year, getting the Colts right on the edge of the playoffs, or were they in the playoffs? I don't remember. But either way, he led them to a great record after Anthony Richardson went down. Shows the veteran leadership that Gardner Minshew has. Basically, a dude that can roll into any situation and make things happen. And he is somebody that his teammates love. Guys are going to play for him. They've got plenty of guys there that can catch the ball, and so it's a great situation in Las Vegas for Minshew to thrive this season, plus maybe another season. Um, hey, if they really wanted Aiden O'Connell to be their quarterback, they would have just drafted another quarterback behind him. They could have easily moved up and grabbed JJ McCarthy this year or Bo Nix or paid up to go into the, top 5 at least to get somebody. So I think that they were more than happy to sit where they were. They grabbed the best talent available with Brock Bowers falling to them. A lot of people were skeptical at that, but in my opinion, they went after the best talent, and that was Brock Bowers. And now they have Bowers and Mayer. They're not playing fantasy football. They're not looking at it like, oh, geez, now Mayer's not getting any targets. No, they're looking at it like this can open up the field for the other wide receivers there, and as well as create space for Mayer and the running game in particular. So Las Vegas, they have a shot there in the West to, maybe go 8-8, 8-9, 9-8 even. The defense really turned it on late in the season after I'm trying to think who the coach was. McDaniels was let go, and Anthony Pierce took over. I really like the way things are going for Vegas. So now, where are we at? Going back to the end of round 1. Okay. We had Chase. I told you, I picked him after trading up. Then Steve S went and scooped up back-to-back wide receivers, Amon Ra and Marv. Then Richard Brand with his first selection after trading down with me took CMC at the 202. My opinion, that's a little high, but if you want to go for a win now build, go ahead and grab CMC. He's the ultimate weapon. I mean, his work shows that he was the most important player in fantasy last season. So, hey, by all means, we play the game to win. I can't knock you for doing that. So go get him, Richard Brand. He then had my pick at the 203 and selected Jordan Love. After that, King Wheezy went Herbert, then Lawrence went, then Puka. Then we had three running backs in a row, Brees, Jameer Gibbs, and JT going. That shows how Caleb Williams slipped all the way till the 210. Now, this draft is loaded with Packers fans. Just goes to show what can happen. So Caleb dropped all the way to the 210. And so that was a deal there for Chupas, 100%. Next up, we had Bojo grabbing Tyreek. Then the DeLorean grabbed Jaden Daniels. Now, later on in the draft, this was maybe around round 10, somewhere around there. Chupas and the DeLorean, then, as you can see, the DeLorean is a Bears fan. Chupas and the DeLorean swapped those two, Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, and Chupas grabbed Joe Mixon as a addition to that deal. So it ended up being Caleb for Jaden Daniels and Joe Mixon. Next up, we did a third round reversal. So we go back over to Steve at the 301. He was able to scoop up Kyler Murray. Now, I got to tell you, I was back half of round one. I think I think the last five picks there of round one, I was trying to trade up to grab Kyler. Kyler's somebody who, in my opinion, should be going probably. I would take Kyler right there with Love, Herbert, and Lawrence where they went. I definitely would take him, my opinion, over Lawrence. I just think that the rushing ability there puts him, gives him an advantage. Now he got a stud receiver in Marv. I'd like the prospects for Kyler. I mean, whenever he's been healthy, he's finished top 8. So a healthy Kyler is big points. And next up, we had Boss trade up. He grabbed Saquon at the 302. Now, that might be a tad early. And the other startups I've done, he was going around round 5. I think I even got him in round 6 in one league. I can see him going in round 4, but to me, um, with ETN still on the board, I don't know that I'd necessarily have anybody ahead of Saquon other than ETN. Kyron has definitely lost some luster with the drafting of Blake Corum, so I don't have a problem taking Saquon ahead of Kyron right now. But A-Chain maybe. A-Chain's a lot younger, very explosive. So when you're looking at running backs, I mean, I get wanting Saquon. He's set up to explode there with that offense in Philly, but that might have been a little bit of a reach at the 302. Now, just Riley says this is war. King Wheezy's not happy that I took Gardner Minshew. Wow. Oh boy. Let me see what I missed on the trade. 1608 and a second. Well, yeah, maybe I would have taken that, maybe not. I don't know. I've already got a bunch of seconds. And so at this point, I'm just trying to fill out my top 20 players or so. That's how I look at it. Like, ideally in best ball, you want to have as little zeros as possible on your team. Okay. Doesn't mean I won't roster a few backup quarterbacks. Like, because there are plenty of injuries as we saw last season. So backup quarterbacks definitely are valuable. But aside from them, I really don't want too many of those handcuff running backs that just sit, like, I know Elijah Mitchell has value, right? If CMC goes down, boom, as long as he is the backup again. Uh, but I'm looking more for maybe the running backs that have roles that we know have a role. So those ambiguous type backfields where they got a shot to get just 8 to 12 touches a week. Those are the types that are gonna help set your floor for your team. And so that's just my strategy. Um, Others might have their own strategy, but that's how I like to do best ball. Um, Next up, we had after Saquon, Foss moved up again and grabbed Dak. Uh, a lot of people might find that questionable. Early third on Dak. I don't at all. I love Dak. He's done well for me over the last 5 seasons, and so I got no problem taking Dak right after Kyler. Um, Dak and Purdy are right there together to me in the same conversation. Next up, Garrett Wilson went, then Sam Laporta and ETN before Brock Purdy then went at the 307. So don't really have a problem with those locations. I personally do not we do not want to draft a tight end that early. I find nice value in tight ends, as you can see later on down here at the 905. I was able to scoop up David Njoku. To me, there's like, and that was the bottom end of who I want as a starter. You can see we have Laporta, McBride, Kincaid, Pitts, Kelsey, Bowers, Andrews, Hawkinson, Kittle, Ingram, Ferguson, and then I grabbed Njoku. So that's 11 tight ends. That's where I see the clear tier break. Okay, that's a monster tier, you could say. But honestly, there's like 5 or 6 tight ends this year going into this season that could finish tight end one. It's not your old, where there's just your old tight end landscape where there's every year it used to be like Kelsey, Andrews, and Kittle as the top three. A few years back, it was Waller in there instead of uh, Andrews. Okay, so then you had Kelsey, Waller, and Kittle, and you either wanted one of those three or you just faded tight end. Right? It's not like that anymore. To me, there is no clear cut advantage. Sure, is uh, Kelsey probably going to outscore Njoku this season? Probably, but I mean, Njoku was the tight end 5 or 6 last season. I mean, if he does anything similar, he's going to finish top 10, right? So, I mean, and then there's injuries at the position. I don't know. The tight end position in best ball, I, I'm not worried as much about grabbing that positional advantage because you can grab any tight end late. And if they catch a touchdown that week, boom, they're getting double digit points. So you can grab somebody as crappy as Tyler Conklin, and who knows where he goes in this startup. But I mean, that dude, he catches a touchdown and a few catch 3 for 30 and a touchdown, and that's 12 points. That's the equivalent of a 6 for 60 from Kelsey with no touchdown that week, right? So you see what I'm getting at is I don't mind backfilling tight end like it. I not gotten Njoku. I probably wouldn't have drafted it. I might not have even drafted a tight end yet, honestly. And I would have been fine with Tyler Conklin as my number one tight end. And I would have just ripped off 4 straight tight ends in rounds, 17 through 20. So that's just how I look at the tight end landscape right now in Dynasty because there's just a ton of young talent there that's so good. And Joku himself is only 27 years old, which is still, you know, on the younger side if you look at tight ends, okay? Because you've got Ingram, Kittle, Kelsey, of course, Andrews. they're all older than Njoku. He's the same age as Hawkinson, right? So he's smack dab right in the middle. I don't mind it. I ended up getting uh Deshaun Watson in this draft. So I mean I got a nice little stack there. Um and so I'm totally happy with grabbing Njoku in the ninth round. So after that middle of the third round there, we had Malik Neighbors go, then Kyron Williams at the 309, which was a little high for me. Uh, Chris Olave at the 310. AJ Brown slid all the way down to the 311. So that was a steal for Mojo, in my opinion. Then Drake London and Roma Dunze back to back. A nice little solid start there at receiver for the DeLorean after starting off with two quarterbacks. Of course, he ended up trading and getting Caleb. So he's sitting on Mahomes, Caleb, London, and Adunze as his build. He also grabbed Pitts with his next pick. So I love that start for the DeLorean with those five nice young pieces. Cannot go wrong with that. And then you just build out from there. So I really like the DeLorean start. After Pitt, well, let's go back here. So it started out in the fourth there with the Dunze, then McBride, George Pickens. That's a little higher than where Pickens had gone, but honestly, I can't disagree with it. I mean, at this point with wide receivers, Pickens easily could score similar to Olave and London this year. I don't have a problem with Pickens going that high. I mean, if you watch any other podcast out there, they're all hyping up Pickens that he should be drafted higher. Well, this guy actually did it. Then you had Jacobs at the 404, a little high for me. Rashad White. I mean, Jacobs is a guy, his contract says it's 4 years, but it really is a year-to-year deal. Now, he could blow up just like Saquon this year. And so then it'll pay off for you. He did an interesting start, Trav. He went, you know, when everybody's going one way, he went the other way. He started quarterback with Lamar, then he went three straight running backs. And I know that's one way that you can build out for best ball is to stack up starting running backs to start and then just fill out a ton of wide receivers. Now, I'm not sure he did that as well as maybe he would have liked later on, but we'll see how it turns out. I mean, there's still obviously talent on the board here in round 14, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. And if we bring up his roster, so he did a different way of building than the norm. We'll go here to Trav. I know Trav in the middle here. Where was it? Late in rounds like 7 through 9, he did a deal with Let's Go Brandon, who picked 6. He did a deal where Let's Go Brandon moved back and scooped up a ton of picks here uh, in rounds 9 through 12. And Trav got to move up and grab these picks 7 and 8 from his 7th and 8th round picks from Let's Go Brandon. Let me see. I can't remember. He might have gotten his 6th as well. Let me slide this up just a hair. No, he just got his 7th and 8th. And Let's Go Brandon got his 9th, 10th, and 11th. This is what I mean. This draft has been so much fun to be a part of because guys are willing to make deals. Guys are throwing firsts around like crazy. I mean, Boss at first traded away both of his firsts. Then he grabbed somebody else's firsts. I don't know how many firsts he's sitting on right now. I think it's 2. Uh, but it's just been wild. Like nothing. The first Birdhouse best ball draft, we didn't have a trade until the 4th round. Everybody was playing it close to the vest. Now, I get it. Everybody was trying to play it smart and create their build, but everybody just ended up building off of their own draft picks, really. There wasn't a whole lot of the draft picks weren't very fluid. So it was in a way it was nice because you knew who the others were kind of draft. Um, we didn't go exactly by ADP, but you could kind of foresee. And so it helped you build your team And the only unfortunate problem with that is I think everybody might finish 500 this year. So it could be a very interesting race to see who wants to maybe go out and buy veterans first. That could be the big race in the first one. This league, though, I mean, this league, guys are going for blood. I mean, everybody is out to get their guy. They're not even at this point in the draft. They're not afraid to throw seconds on top of an extra pick to go get their guy right now. And now as we're getting to this fringe area where basically on the real NFL teams, you've got starters that are still out there that we know are going to score points versus the middling rookies that were in rounds 2 and 3 of the rookie draft. So you got the guys who, like, we had a little run here of Cortland Sutton, then it went Rashid Shaheed, Jermaine Burton, and Malachi Corley. Okay, Burton was a guy I was looking at coming up because I have Chase and Burrow. So obviously that would have been a nice little stack addition for me that Chupa scooped up on me. He also grabbed Devontae Wicks the round before. Both of those are nice picks. And he got Jermaine Polk in the round before. So Chupas was able to grab 3 straight nice young dart throws at receiver. And I think they all are in great opportunities. But same time, they're not guarantees. Okay. They're not somebody that's safe. I don't know, like I have Calvin Ridley, right? Okay. I didn't grab him that late, but let's see. Okay. I drafted DeAndre Hopkins after he took Polk. Now I know Hopkins is old, but he's still at least got one more year in him. I mean, he had a great season last year and he doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So the guy can run routes and he can get open. So I don't see much of a drop off for Hopkins, at least not this season. All right. So it definitely was a win now type trade, but I don't mind doing those. I still got plenty of time to grab young players, and so we'll see who I'm able to get later on in this draft. I have not lost many of my draft picks going forward, so yeah, I'm still sticking on most of my picks. I hadn't had a problem trading back and scooping up extra capital. Um, all right, so go back to the board. We were in the middle of the fourth there, and this was uh, frustrating for me right here. Tua and Goff went right ahead of me at the 408. I wanted either of those guys. I would have been happy grabbing there. I settled for Ayuk. I could have made a deal, but there were just too many. I had 2 or 3 offers, too specifically, where I just didn't feel like I was getting the guys weren't throwing enough out there for me to get excited over. Basically, it was just an equal lateral type move, and I wanted to get one more stud wide receiver. I see a cutoff sort of right at the uh, DJ Moore, Devontae Smith. Okay, even DK you could throw in there. I don't mind Flowers, but right after DK, I see like a tier break. Okay, T Higgins, you could throw up in there too. I wouldn't mind T. And I contemplated just grabbing DK and Higgins where my picks were coming up at the 502 and the 503. Was it? No, 410 and 503. I had those 2 picks. I ended up moving back. No, I had the 502 and 503. That's where it was. I was thinking of taking DK and T Higgins there. So you can see where that tier is. All these players I'd say from Higgins on the way up back into the 5th round there. They're all similarly valued, all in that tier of the, say, top 60 players. And all of those guys our veteran point producers. You also throw in a couple of young rookie quarterbacks there near the end of that tier in Drake May and JJ McCarthy. Solid picks, in my opinion. No guarantees, but solid picks at the same time. Now, um, so this is it's really key who you draft in there so that you know you have a direction for your team build. Do you grab two wide receivers? Do you split it up? Do you mix it up in these 3 rounds? Rounds 4, 5, and 6. Do you go one running back, one quarterback, one receiver? Do you grab a big tight end in that area? Okay, it's key for your team build because it sets you up for rounds 7 through 15 who you're going to be aiming for. All right. Obviously, in a format like this where it's start 12, you can have 4 flexes of any position and there's 3 wide receivers. You're going to need wide receivers. It's a best ball. I mean, wide receivers have the biggest explosion type games. They also have those 1 for 5 games, right? So you got to have your direction. You got to have an idea of who you're going to get and what you can grab later on in the draft because you don't want to leave yourself hanging. Now, what do we got going on here? King Wheezy is still waiting. We're still waiting on King Wheezy. Okay. Where's here? Yeah, nobody's talking on the chat in this draft room. Do you guys out there, do you talk in the chat in the draft room actually? Most of our chat is all done on the main page, but I don't know. Let me bring this up here. Oh man. Yeah, he was a little frustrated there. He's probably working out a trade right now though. So he threw the pick on the block, so worked out. All right. So he's saying drafting 5 starting quarterbacks should be illegal. Well, I can't help it. Uh, I can't help that they let him fall. I mean, it's the way I had to build. I didn't get 2 stud quarterbacks, so somehow I have to create a stud quarterback, and that's why I drafted so many. I would have been fine at 4, but the thing is now I have leverage with that 5th quarterback. So, I mean, why not? That's good strategy, and so that's why I went ahead and grabbed him. Um, so oh, he got mad because I sniped Levis on him. Well, I mean, like I said, Chua and Goff were in my sight too, so and that's the thing, like you can't cry about it. Things are gonna happen. Exactly, Colin. I mean, Colin chimed in. Hey, you're gonna get sniped. on some picks. That's why when it comes your turn, or when it's leading up to your turn, right? When you're, say, 2 or 3 picks away, I always try to have 3 guys at least queued up that I know I'm gonna be fine taking, right? If I don't see 3 guys that I like, that's when I throw that draft pick out there on the block. I try to throw pick out on the block usually a lot of times anyway, just to see what might be out there. But my point being, going back to the queue, I try to have 3 guys in my queue so I can always pivot to another option if the guy I really wanted gets picked. You know, these guys are just, you can't be so hard set on one guy because, like, yeah, I grabbed Garner Minshew, but I mean, Daniel Jones is going to score similar to him. So is Derek Carr. So is Russell Wilson. I mean, there's other quarterbacks in that area in that similar tier. So if you can't get Minshew, then look at one of the other guys that was drafted in a round or two earlier. Try and trade for them. I mean, what can I say? But to expect that, let's see. Let me go down here to the board. If I roll down here, so Minshew was the last starting quarterback, right? And when King Weezy selected Kendre Miller, there were 3 starting quarterbacks left. There was Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, and Garner Minshew. Okay. Brady Flash at that point only had 1 starting quarterback. So I'm literally shocked that he didn't take another one. But I mean, Justin Fields, we all know, is not guaranteed to be the starter. Sure, he might be at some point, but Flash here, he only is sitting on Jalen Hurts. So in my mind, I'm looking at it like, okay, he should be taking 1 quarterback. Now, everybody else other than Mojo, because the DeLorean also has Michael Penix as his 3rd quarterback, which Penix is probably not going to play for at least 2 years, right? So he's looking at a 0 there for a couple of years. So he's really only got 2 quarterbacks. So of these guys, Let's Go Brandon also had 3 quarterbacks. So, you know, we only had Let's Go Brandon and Mojo Forever with 3 quarterbacks. So it's very likely that the DeLorean, Chupis, Trav Bieski, Brady Flash, or Brejack, any of those 5 guys could be taking a quarterback next, or should be, in my opinion, looking heavily at quarterback. So with Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, and Gardner Minshew, the last 3 starters available, I would think that all 3 of those guys would be gone by the time I pick next, right? So I don't know. That's how I look at it, Wheezy. I mean, you wanted Kendre Miller instead of a 3rd quarterback. I don't know. That's the way it rolls. So, and you already had 3 quarterbacks. You had Gino. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if you can get 4 quarterbacks in a best ball league, I won a best ball league last year. I ended up having 5 quarterbacks actually because I scooped up Flacco, and my best quarterback of the whole on the whole team was Stafford. I had Stafford, Gino, Flacco, and like Jake Browning and some other backup quarterback. I think it was who was the other guy? Um, there was another backup that started I think it was Dobbs. So Dobbs got a lot of starts last year. I mean, he didn't look great, but I don't need him to look great to score fantasy points, right? So that's that's just the way it rolled last year. There was a lot of injuries at the quarterback position, and so I mean, just because Minshew just got drafted ahead of you, King Weezy. I guarantee you there is multiple quarterbacks that have yet to be drafted here that are going to be fantasy relevant at some point this season. Okay. I would guarantee there's probably at least five out there that are going to be fantasy relevant this season. So don't worry, King Weezy. Pivot to another direction, gather yourself together, suck it up, be a man, and find a plan. There you go. That's my pep talk. Let's do it, King Weezy. Never stop working, right? You got 15 more rounds, 16 more rounds to go here, all right? Plenty of options out there. You're going to be just fine. So let's look at the King Weezy here. What is his roster look like? He is sitting on Herbert, McCarthy, and Geno at quarterback. That's fine, right? McCarthy might not start the season to begin with, but you know, at least he's got Herbert and Geno. Running backs, he's got Bijan, Trey Benson, Zamir White, and Blake Corum. Nice, young, stable there. Also added the aforementioned Kendre Miller. At receiver, he's sitting on. Oh, there we go. Receiver, he's sitting on Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Keon Coleman, Judy, and Troy Franklin. Nice young players. And then at tight end, he has Andrews and Komet. Solid looking team. Nothing to worry about there, King Weezy. All right. Let's go. Let's go back here. Where were we discussing? Let me get the draft board up rather than King Weezy. I don't want to. Gotta get off of him. Look at Foss here. You bring up Foss' players. Like Foss, literally one player that Foss drafted is from his original spot, Trevor Lawrence, in the second round. Everybody else, he is traded all over the board. Okay. Let's get back to the regular draft here. Okay. How do I get off of this? There we go. Okay. So we were back in the fifth round, right? We were talking. So King Weezy is saying, "Oh, he wanted Levis too," but then we have literally have a Titans fan in the house in Chupin, and I know Luke. I know he wanted Levis. That's why I knew he would not. There was no way Levis was getting back to me, and I again, can I tell him? Yeah, he should have taken him at the 5'10" instead of Isaiah Pacheco. Sure, but he didn't, and he fell, and he was sitting there. I like Levis. I grabbed him a couple times this off season, and just like the offense in Tennessee. Earlier on this off season, I did a research video for you where I shared how teams struggled last season that went out and grabbed an offensive coordinator rather than being stolen their offense, having their offensive coordinator stolen from them. Teams who were actively replacing their offensive system improved from the previous year. And the majority of teams last year that did so had their offense improve on their amount of touchdowns that they scored. All right. So I see that kind of positive regression happening for the Titans. They're looking to open things up more with grabbing Callahan from the Bengals. You can see a similar style offense probably in Tennessee, which means more passing attempts. It's going to be interesting. I know we're used to seeing King Henry bang it 30 times up the gut with the Titans. This is going to be a much more wild, loose offense with Will Levis at the helm. Who knows? Levis is either going to tear it up this year or he's going to be out of a job. So I don't know if there's really any in between there with Will Levis. I suppose he could struggle from time to time and then look good for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. They finish 9-8, make the playoffs and lose in the first round, or who knows, he blows up and they win the division and get a home game for the playoffs, or they go 5-12 and they're looking for a new quarterback next off season. I don't know, but it's going to be fun. I'll be along for the ride. But when you would draft Will Levis as your second quarterback, you better plan ahead. And I did so. That's why I was actively searching out quarterbacks through every single round. I mean, literally every single pick I made, the first question I had was, do I take a quarterback here? Because that is the key. To tell you guys, the key to Superflex starts and ends with quarterback. There's only a finite amount of quarterbacks. Okay. Wide receivers are the second most important position, but there's 100 wide receivers. Okay. There's literally, I have a threshold, right? There's 50 or 60 wide receivers that are at that threshold that in a lineup league are, I'd say 50. I'll give you 50 wide receivers that are totally startable every week. Like if you don't end up with a single top 10 or 15 wide receiver, you can still have a monster team by getting 6 or 7 receivers that are ranked 25 through 50. All right. But if you do not have at least one top end quarterback, you're going to be in trouble and you're going to be searching. Right. And you need to really be creative. Like I said, in that best ball league last year that I won, I had to go out and actively hammer the waiver wire and get every single quarterback that was being a backup. And like I said, I got very lucky with Joe Flacco and Josh Dobbs and Jake Browning last year. That's not going to happen every year. But I created my own good luck by actively going out. I mean, like I put big bucks on those guys to get them. And it's not like Matt Stafford is trash. When Matt Stafford is healthy, he can be a top 10 quarterback weekly. So same holds true right here. I mean, Matthew Stafford went at the 10:07, and I remember waiting there at the 10:09. No, what did I have? Did I have the 10:08? I might have had the 10:08 at that point. I don't know. But at the 10:10, I was definitely considered taking Stafford. I didn't get him. So I took Tony Pollard and then I grabbed Daniel Jones on the way back just because he was a quarterback. ADP wise, that was probably I reached by 30 picks on Daniel Jones there. But what happened next? Geno Smith went right after him. King Weezy knew he needed a quarterback to get that third quarterback. That was a good pick, even though it was, a few picks ahead of ADP. That was a pick you had to make, and that was a good, solid pick, King Weezy. So, I mean, you're on the clock now, though, and I know you know what you want. Hopefully, you got a trade coming up because I don't know how much longer I can go on here. We're at 48 minutes. Okay. Well, let's see. What can we continue on here with? So we were talking, that tier break in the middle of round 5, end of round 5. So the top 60 players or so. After that, we had Let's see here. Got uh, the DeLorean. Oh, can we talk Will Levis adult acting debut? I haven't quite checked that out yet, DeLorean, but thanks for bringing it up. I know he is the mailman, and I wasn't aware that related to his adult acting career. So I just knew that the dude liked to throw it in his coffee. But hey, if he likes to throw his mail around elsewhere, no problem with it. But hey, whatever he does off the field, I don't really care. I mean, I got Levis, I got Deshaun Watson here. Maybe I need to change my team name from Burrowhead's Massage Parlor to, you know, and the Massage Parlor. What do you think of that, boys? So I don't know. I'll think of something though, because we got a couple of interesting cats there. So Levis, Watson, Gardner Minshew, and then Daniel Jones. Somebody just doesn't fit into there, right? But Levis, Watson, and Gardner Minshew, that's one hell of a locker room. I'll tell you that much. All right. And we have a trade. Oh my, oh my, oh my. We have a trade, and it is Foss Boss. Once again, wheeling and dealing. Why am I not shocked? So, Foss Boss went ahead and what do we have here? Foss Boss acquired the current pick, which is the 1409, for the 1608, 1705, and then two super late picks, the 28th and 30th rounders. Fair enough. So here we go. Boss Boss, who do you want? King Wheezy, come on, man. Oh, dude. All right, Foss Boss. Who do you wanna grab here? We've all been waiting. I want to make my other pick here, dude. Jeez. Oh. Hmm. Checking out here. Who I am like it. Who am I? I up here. Do-do-do. Come on, boss. Made the trade up. Yeah. Got somebody in mind here? Where's the chat? Let's get Boss going. Maybe he's trying to trade it again. Oh, he picked. All right. Who did he grab? Let's see here. Bring it on down. He took Mr. Pat Fryermuth. All right. The Muth is loose. Yes, sir. Bring the Moose over. All right. Well, on the heels of my on the heels of my Gardner Minshew pick, well, who else could I want other than the one and only Jacoby Myers, Mr. Unsung himself. Yes, sir. All right, that didn't take long. Let's roll over to Richard Brand. All right, I gotta make sure he knows he's picking. So I get the little mini stack there in Minshew and Myers. Don't mind that at all. You know, when when you get to this point in the draft, this is where I love getting the stacks. It's nice to get one of the high end stacks like a Burrow and Chase. But honestly, if I had say Kyler and Chase, right? The fact is that Jamar Chase is going to have big weeks by himself. He doesn't need Joe Burrow, right? Like Burrow can have an off game and Chase is still going to be able to have a good week. My point is that it's more beneficial actually grabbing these late round stacks with the teams wide receivers threes and fours so that like you're that's where you're actually gaining an advantage on your opponent when your weaker quarterbacks or when your weaker wide receivers blow up. Those are the weeks when you have a really good opportunity to pull off an upset or defeat a strong team. Maybe you both have strong teams, but when one of these, say, Malachi Corley, if you had Aaron Rodgers, right, and Corley goes off and gets 2 touchdowns, well, boom. Corley is not a guy that you would normally probably he's not going to be a regular starter to begin the season in somebody's lineup. But in best ball, you have that advantage of him being so what if he's your fifth, sixth, seventh wide receiver? He gets into your lineup when he has those 2 touchdowns. So anyway, Jacoby Myers went. Richard Brand is now in the draft room and he's ready to go. What up, Colin? Where are you at, man? I miss you. All right. Who does Brandon want? So exciting. It's riveting action here. I'm telling you, in the house, second Bestball Dynasty draft. JT Sanders off the board to Richard Brand. And now we have Steve on the clock with back-to-backs. All right. Here we go. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. JT Sanders. Tight end for Carolina. I was really loving JT Sanders' profile this offseason. Oh, I wish he went to a different spot. I'll just say it. But you know what? With Dave Canales going to Carolina, you couldn't ask for a better guy to actually bring in, considering the fact that he helped Baker resurrect his career last season. Year before, he brought Geno Smith back from the dead, like literally, when everyone thought Seattle was just going to be trash with Geno Smith. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Like that, but that week 1 victory 2 years ago when Geno beat Russell Wilson in week 1 in Seattle, that was just so fun to watch. And seeing them beat the Broncos and Russell Wilson and just shoving it right back in his face. I don't know. That was just honestly great television. And so let me get these dudes marked off my little cheat sheet board here. There we go. All right. So I am back on the clock in 3 picks. All right. I don't know if we can get to who Steve picks here. How many minutes are we in? Oh, we are at 59. I think that Steve Areno is in a meeting, but he did say his meeting was ending at 10 p.m. So we will, you know what? I'm gonna hang tight because I think Richard Brand will pick, and then it will be to me. So I can hang tight here. Let's continue on with the draft board where we were talking about strategy and the middle rounds here. The middle rounds are so important for shaping your roster. And I'm talking the round 6 through right now. Okay. These guys, even in a lineup league, I'm telling you, lineup drafts so important, whether you're starting just 10, but especially when it's 11 or 12 guys, you know, you want to get these guys right through to me, like DeAndre Hopkins is like the last. Actually, I just grabbed the guy who is the last guy of the threshold veteran receivers that you can count on. Like Jacoby Myers, I know what I'm getting. He has been a top 30 receiver each of the last 3 seasons. He's so unsung, but the guy just goes out and gets 5 for 60 every game. And then you sprinkle in a few touchdowns here and there, and boom, you have a top 30 receiver. It's uncanny. And there's nothing special about him. He's not going to be a top 5 receiver, not top 10, not even top 15. I mean, it'd be a miracle. I guess Hunter Renfrow finished whatever it was, 11th or 12th one season. So I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it would take a Devontae Adams injury and a Brock Bowers injury for that to happen for Jacoby Myers. However, Gardner Minshew can throw the ball. He is not shy about throwing it. And so I see Jacoby Myers getting another 100 targets this year. He's not going to dominate the targets, but regardless, Brock Bowers coming into the mix, Myers is still going to go out there and do his job. And he's only 27, 28 years old. So he's got a couple of years left. It's definitely not washed. He's the type of player, he's a great route runner. I can see him playing into his early 30s. And so I think that I just made a pick for a guy that's got another solid 2, 3 years left in him. And for me, I have built out a solid point producing team. I mean, by drafting Derrick Henry in round 8, you pretty much move yourself into more of a win now type build. Um, so that's the direction I've kind of gone to. Obviously, following that up with grabbing Ridley, then Tony Pollard. I did get Chase Brown, who's a nice young dude who's going to get some looks this year, but grabbed Ezekiel Elliott last round. And I'll talk about the Ezekiel Elliott pick a little. I think that Elliott, I mean, most of us all here use sleeper, right? Elliott is buried down on sleeper. Like I picked him 25 picks ahead of his ADP. Like, where are people taking Ezekiel Elliott? I mean, why would you take? I just want to know if somebody can tell me in the chat, why would you take, I don't know, James Conner over Ezekiel Elliott right now? Just give me a reason why. Because I'm really having a hard time understanding. Like James Conner literally has a 3rd round running back, the top running back from the combine in Trey Benson, breathing down his neck in an exciting offense in Arizona. So I know the opportunity for touchdowns is going to be there, but Trey Benson's going to get some action this year. Ezekiel Elliott, I mean, he's got Rico Dowdle breathing down his throat. Dude, there is nothing stopping Zeke from getting double-digit touchdowns this season. All he has to do is literally line up in the backfield. If Zeke plays 15 games this year, he's going to score 10 touchdowns. I mean, Dak's got nobody else to hand the ball off to. Dowdle is a kick returner. That's what he is. Okay. He is not gonna, he's gonna give Zeke a breather here and there. And yes, they have Deuce Vaughn who can come in on throwing down, but can Deuce Vaughn block? I mean, Zeke is well known as one of the best pass blocking running backs. It's exactly why he got so many touches early on in his career because he could pass block right out of the gate. And that is the number one hindrance for these young running backs to playing time is not being able to pass block. So that's the other. I mean, Zeke can still pass block. So, I mean, it's hard to see, but Zeke's getting probably 250 touches this year. So I'll take that in the 13th round. I'm good with it. And yeah, it's not a young backfield and Henry, Pollard, and Elliott, but whatever. I mean, next year going in, they're probably going to be going in a similar spot. I mean, Zeke, yeah, could fall off the map because Dallas might actually draft someone. But if anybody heard Jerry Jones's reasoning for not drafting any running back this year, he said, follow the money. And he sure did. I mean, the NFL has shown they don't want to pay running backs. And that's exactly how Jerry Jones is done. He went out and got his boy Zeke Elliott on a team friendly discount. And Zeke's back one more year. And I figure he's just going to finish his career in Dallas now. But if you think Rico Dowdle's going to put any hindrance on him, I think you're barking down the wrong tree. I'm not saying Dowdle won't get touches, but I don't know. Anyway, Steve Areno, you out there ready to pick or not? Meeting's over. Let's go. Let us go. Mm-hmm. Oh, there it is. Gabriel Davis. Connell. So he follows up my Gardner Minshew pick with Aiden O'Connell. Hey, O'Connell's got a chance to beat him out. I'm not saying that. I'm just following the money, and I like Gardner Minshew. So, oh, yes. Well, Kid Weezy, that's one less quarterback for you to take. Oh man. And so we're back to Richard Brand. Are you out there, Dick Brand? Oh, let's see. I'm sure he's ready. He's always ready to go. I know he's probably got to get up early tomorrow, but I think I think it's early enough. He's a young one. He can stay up late and get up early. Then I can get my last pick in for the night and we can close this bad boy out. Thank you all for being out there. Once again, we are brought to you by Choice Sports Cards, your number one choice in buying and selling sports cards on the internet. Check out Kyle and the boys over on Whatnot. They pump cards out there left and right every single night for you. For those looking to buy or sell their cards, there is options there for you. They do these great auctions. They start at $1 and literally you can get these awesome cards for like $5. So I mean it's a fun time. You should check it out. Um so who is Richard Brand looking at here? Let's bring up Dick Brand here. What do we got going on? Of course, he started with McCaffrey and Love. He traded back. See that deal that I did with him? He had a bunch of back-to-back picks as well. So I think we both were happy about that. Um, I love picking back-to-back, gotta say. So Brand is looking at Love and Cousins as his QBs. Interesting. He's got CMC, Jonathan Brooks, and Jalen Warren at running back. Not bad. Receivers, Pittman, Collins, DJ Moore, Xavier Worthy. So he's just sitting on four. He's loaded up at tight end here with Sinnott, Musgrave, and Sanders. Those are solid tight ends. So interested to see what position Mr. Brandon goes here. Wow, the Oilers just jumped a 5-2 lead on the Stars now. It's like that series might be tied up at 2. Who do you guys like out there for the NBA? I mean, it's now 3-1 in the West. I don't see the T-Wolves. I don't know. I mean, if anybody could blow it, maybe it is Dallas, but I don't know. It's never happened a team come back from being down 3-0. I do love watching the T-Wolves. I mean, they have just such an exciting gentleman there in the Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards, and with all those 7-footers on defense, it's fun to watch. But man, Luka has been tearing it up this series. I watched that game 3, and the way he just dissected that T-Wolves defense, it's been a great series. I mean, I know that it's not LA or New York or whatever, but these NBA playoffs have been great. And as a Bucks fan whose team totally disappointed this year with the addition of Dame and just couldn't get it together. I know we didn't have Giannis in the playoffs, so what did it really expect? Indiana deserved to beat us. They kicked their ass. I mean, there's no other way about it. But we are rolling here, Richard Brand. Who do you want? Who do you want? I got an idea. Like I said earlier, I got 3 guys at least that I could go with my next pick. So I am pretty happy where I'm looking right now. Let's see here. Let's bring up the old Birdman's roster. What do we got here? So top of the line, we're looking at Joey B, King Henry, Pollard at running back, Chase Ayuk and Cooper Kupp, Joku at tight end. Then we're filling out the roster with all solid vet receivers and Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Hollywood, and D Hop. Then Will Levis in there now as the super flex. After that, I piled up with Watson, Daniel Jones, and now Gardner Minshew at quarterback. And then got Chase Brown and Zeke in the backfield. And I just grabbed Jacoby Myers. So what I was getting at earlier, I mentioned, so I love to get the 2 stud quarterbacks if possible, but if I can't, I have to find a way to compete against the teams that have 2 stud quarterbacks, right? There's a couple teams here who went back-to-back quarterback to start their draft. And, Will Levis, as much as I like his upside, he is not he does not have Caleb Williams talent. Right? Will Levis is talented, but he doesn't have Caleb Williams talent. All right. God, who can I use the example of here? Okay. Foss Boss has Trevor Lawrence and Dak Prescott. Okay. If I want to compete with that on a weekly basis, I can't expect Will Levis to outscore Trevor Lawrence every week, right? So I had to build up Will Levis, Deshaun Watson, both very risky, right? Then I've got Daniel Jones and Gardner Minshew, both trash, absolute bottom of the barrel, right? They're in the last bottom five quarterbacks of the starters in the league. Minshew, you can't even count as a starter right now, actually, but I kind of did. So you have four dudes there and Joe Burrow. So we got Burrow and Dak pretty much scored similar last year, roughly. And so I got four dudes to try and outscore Trevor Lawrence. And that's the way best ball works. Like I was sure I would have been fine with just three, but there weren't any more quarterbacks. That raised the value of Gardner Minshew. It's supply and demand. Gardner Minshew, like I said, to try and get that pick at that particular moment from me would have cost more than most would be willing to give. Now, I wouldn't have expected a first rounder, but I literally would have wanted uh, whoever is offering their picks, their next pick and a second rounder. Like for somebody to offer me their next pick and a third, what am I going to do with that third that could have helped me as much as Gardner Minshew right now? The third rounder, I mean, I've already got a ton of extra draft capital. A third rounder, yes, mid-season could maybe buy me a spot start at running back. But the third round, you know how the third round goes in most rookie drafts. Third rounders are literally just dart throws. Okay. I don't even want to make those picks in a draft. I am, by all means, I'm just usually trying to kick it forward to the next season, right? Usually, this past year's draft, very good. There are a lot of still, a lot of decent players in the third round of this year's draft, but that is not the case most years. You get a draft like this once every 5, 6, 7 years. Okay. It's not going to be what the 25 class looks like when we get to it. You'll see. But I digress. Richard Brand, please pick. Oh boy. Let's go back to where were we at when we were sliding down the board discussing our strategy here. Okay. So we got to the fifth round and it went, let's see, Dalton Kincaid at the end. We had a nice run of receivers. I took Ayuk, then it went Jalen Waddle, then Michael Pittman, then Nico Collins. All four of those dudes I consider very solid, upper, mid to upper tier. Like I would call them B plus, A minus receivers. You've got your elite tier of the top 4 or 5 guys. Then these next dudes come into play, right? They're right on the fringe, just behind AJ Brown, um, but they're younger, so they still have that possibility to move up and possibly pass AJ Brown this season. Then you have DJ Moore, who I don't hate DJ Moore. The talent is there. It's just a situation now. You got a rookie quarterback. He got tons of targets last season, but you also are throwing in Keenan Allen, a target hog, and a monster rookie in Roma Dunze. So I just don't know, like, how many times are you going to have Caleb Williams, a rookie? How many pass attempts is a rookie quarterback going to actually have? Is he literally going to be throwing the ball 600 times this year? I mean, it's possible, but DJ Moore's targets are going to go down a little this year. There's no two ways about it. So yes, he's still a great player. There's no doubt about that. And next year, Keenan Allen may very well not be there, and it could just be the Roma Dunze and DJ Moore show in Chicago. And they're both getting 150 targets. So I don't know. I don't hate DJ Moore. I guess if you're looking at it from a DJ Moore versus Michael Pittman perspective, if you want to get all one on one, I hate doing one on one within the same tier type things, but I'd rather have Pittman because he's got less competition. All right. Roma Dunze is miles ahead of Adonai Mitchell. I love Adonai Mitchell's athleticism and all that, but let's be real here. Okay, he's not Roma Dunze. So he's not going to be commanding the type of target volume that Roma Dunze will because of the kind of route runner he is. AD Mitchell is a best ball dream because he's somebody you can get much later, young, athletic, and he's going to have some spike weeks this year. He's going to three, four times this year. He's going to be in your lineup because he's going to hit 20 points. At the same time, there's going to be weeks where he throws up a donut. So, I mean, that's why he's getting drafted down where he is, right? Next after that, you have Debo, Devontae Smith, Zay Flowers, and DK. Now, personally, I'd have DK at the top. Well, DK and Devontae Smith, you could probably argue. I just love DK, but and in Seattle, they're going to be throwing the ball more this year too. So you could arrange these guys any which way you want. I know there's the Debo truthers who love him, and I think I don't want to be buying into what happened 2 years ago with Debo, or is it 3 years ago now? Anyway, Debo still finished top 15 last season, so I mean it's hard to argue against him. It's just amazing what Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuel were able to do last year in the lowest passing volume team in the league. But that just shows how efficient and what a great play caller that Brock Purdy, I mean, that Shanahan is, and they have the right guy running the show there now. I mean, I was wrong. I'll be the first to admit I drafted Trey Lance in the second round of a startup 3 years ago. So whatever. But you make your mistakes and you move on. You got to pivot, right? So things have worked out all right on that team. And then the following year, last year in the rookie draft, yeah, on that team, we drafted Bryce Young. Another mistake. What do we do? 5, 6 weeks in, I sold Bryce Young off just to get whatever I could for him. And ended up getting, what was it? Now I traded for Prescott before the season. I forget. Oh yeah, we got some capital, which then I in turn used to flip to get DK back onto that roster. So ended up doing all right there. Won the league last season, so say it was all right. But it just goes to show, like, you make a mistake, you got to find a way to undo that mistake. Like, it's not the end of the world. Sometimes your little bets on certain players don't go right. Chuba Hubbard he went with. Okay, so we have who do I want to get? Couple guys I really like here. Mm. Who's gonna be around next time I pick? Hmm. 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 All right. I don't have a rookie wide receiver yet, so I don't want to say that I've planted my flag on this guy, but I'm gonna say that I planted my flag. Now I probably just got a trade offer, huh? Somebody, yeah, here we go. Hopefully I didn't give away who I was picking there, but Richard Brand, wanting to throw me his 16th and his 17th picks. Here's the thing. Don't pick this guy right here. I know he's going to be gone next round. However, what is there in that next round that I could go for? Hmm. Okay, let me mark off Tim. C's got picked. Mark off Chuba. And I got, he took Davis. Okay. Hmm. Oh, see, how many picks away am I then? 10, another 10, 20. Oh boy. 20 picks we're looking at. And then we're all the way down to ooh, this range. And then I get three of those dudes. But that is just, oh, it's so yuck after this. Oh, man. Oh, man. Hmm. This is an interesting one. Very interesting one. Hmm. Got to, let me look at just look at what we got going on down here. It's not a terrible trade offer. Where am I? So we're looking at there, and we would be sliding all the way back down to, let me bring this up here so you guys can see this better. Okay, so literally right here. Now, it would be all the way down to this range. And, there's some players here that aren't bad, but I just really don't, you know, oof, this is a tough one. Uh, Hmm. Okay. Who again? It's available down. Couple of dart throws down here. Find. Yeah, I gotta take someone here. So, all right. I don't want to say that I'm planting my flag on this guy, but I kind of planting my flag. I love Javon Baker, and so there we go. Sorry, Richard Brand. Had to go get my guy. King Wheezy, you're on the clock. I know that you probably went to bed already just because you were pissed at me. And I'm sorry for that. But you know what? It happened. So thank you all for joining me on this fine evening here. Been going an hour and a half. Wow, it goes by so fast when we're talking draft, in draft, live. It is so much fun. Oh, King Wheezy popped up on the board. Can we see a King Wheezy pick? before we go to bed here tonight, folks. Woo. All right. We will we will join again. I'll give him 50 seconds. There we go. Oh, and he takes Josh Palmer. Definitely one of the guys I was looking at. So King Weezy, way to bounce back. Nice pick. I like it. All right. And we have Brady Flash now up on the clock. Oh, and he's joined as well. He is in the house. Brady Flash. Who does he want? And now he stepped out and he's back in. Is he going to pick? Oh boy. So let's talk Javon Baker and Josh Palmer. Okay. So Javon Baker steps into a fresh wide receiver room. I mean, I know that in LA the Chargers vacated an insane amount of targets last year. But how about the New England Patriots wide receiver room? I mean, we're talking absolutely nothing there. But I mean, so Javon Baker has just as good a shot as Jermaine Polk to be the leading target guy there. So went ahead with it. I mean, I like Josh Palmer, definitely one of the guys I was looking at possibly selecting instead. But what can you do? You can't have them all. So I I feel happy with the three picks I got there on this turn, and Gardner Minshew, Jacoby Myers, a little stacky there, and Javon Baker. So is Brady Flash going to pick here, or is he not? And he is going to hold things up. All right, I'm going to step out. This has been a fun night for you guys. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. I love you. You are what I do this for, what I live and breathe this for. Guys, never stop working out.